Welcome to the UK Fantasy Football Show, Goal's weekly podcast that discusses many of football fans' favourite pastime. We'll be reacting to how our teams did in Game Week 9, trying to figure out if the Arsenal we're watching are stuck in a perpetual purgatory of mediocrity for the rest of time, and revealing our teams for Game Week 10. That was a bit of a mouthful there. This week, Sam and I are joined by Goal's international managing editor, Rob Parrish. I think Dave's not here because he's getting a new cat, which is a pretty valid reason, to be fair, for missing a podcast. I'm a little bit sad, though, that he's missed it, because he's missing the opportunity to gloat at Sam for using his triple captain in a pretty feeble way in the end. You were sort of goaded into it a bit, weren't you?
A little bit. I started off by being overconfident because I'm top of the table still, and just expected some form of normality in the football results. And triple captain Callum Wilson.
It was a low average this week, wasn't it?
He got 2 points, so I got 6 in total, which put a little bit more gloss on my team, if anything, because I think I would have ended up with like 28, 29 points. So really, if there was ever a game week to play, it was this week.
I mean, if we're going to get a silver lining out of this, you got 33 points this week, and that triple captain made sure you were the top scorer of us three. If you hadn't triple captained him, you would have finished beneath Dave with 31 points. So Dave got 32. But it's a really, really thin silver lining that I'm reaching for here.
Yeah, it was even after the podcast I'd have pressed it, I was like, oh, you can cancel it. I was like, oh, just cancel it, just cancel it. My mind was going, but wait for a double game week,
I can't believe you didn't, to be honest.
I know, but then I thought, just on the chance that I could prove everyone right.
You could have gloated big time.
It was a Hail Mary, and the glory would have... Yeah, I'm still top.
You are still top. You extended your lead
by a point. Yeah.
I got a bit of a nosebleed last week after my 67 points, but I came crashing back down to earth this week. 26 points, frankly pathetic, but at least it was a low scoring week with average.
It's been a brutal last 3 weeks, where it's the whole game has turned on its head, and everyone's has got sort of the template team of Mane, Aguero, Sterling, De Bruyne, just bringing in points. There's a chap on Reddit, what's his username? Chipboot, who tabulated the top point scorers in game week 7, 8 and 9. So if, as your team, you had selected Rui Patricio in goal, I'll just read them out in no particular order. Danny Ings, Matt Targett, Marcus Alonso, Jamie Vardy, Jack Grealish, Adama Traore, Willian, Doherty, Janmat and Raul Jimenez. If that was your starting 11 for 3 weeks, you didn't make any changes, excluding captaincy, you'd have got 236 points. The grand total in price of that team, 66 million.
Are there not 4 Wolves players in there?
That doesn't matter.
He couldn't have physically done that.
All right, I'll swap Matt Doherty out for Jack O'Connell then.
Okay, right, okay.
So you would end up with 235 points.
Okay,
my
that's
point still stands.
Okay.
Well, 2020 hindsight and all that.
Yeah, very much so. A forward line of Danny Ings, Jack Doherty, and Raul Jimenez ain't going to get you no biscuits there.
Yeah.
And the highest out of all those premium attacking players over the 3 weeks combined is Mane with 17 points.
Aguero's my captain this week and he didn't play, but I feel a little bit like safety in numbers because he was the most captained by all FPL managers across the game. A lot of disappointed people. A lot of people captaining Aguero, vice captaining Mo Salah, I reckon, as well.
Is that what you did?
No, I had vice captain Sadio Mane, who got me a big total of 4 points, but not much better than 0.
It's quite lofty this week, really, wasn't it?
For me, yeah. I guess. Oh, wait, no, he got 2 points. I just assumed he was captain, wasn't he? So I think he got 1 point. So no, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Tomori was my top goal scorer, top point scorer with 5 points. So not great. I've had better weeks, let's say.
It taught me a lesson though this week that I should always trust in the man. Some call him a myth. I call him a legend. John Lundstrom. He should start every week.
Well, has he even started once for you? You've got him in your team. He's the top scoring defender in the entire league. You can gloat that you had him when it was like 4 million, and you've not started him once.
I know, but you think, well, he's playing Arsenal. They should score. They've got Aubameyang up front. I was going to say they've got Pepe. I mean, we can get on to...
we'll save that.
Yeah, we'll save that bad boy. No one... I think they've got like the most clean sheets in the league. They've conceded the fewest, or joint fewest. That's remarkable. Because I thought they'd do what Norwich are doing at the moment and generally ship an absolute ton with this, this crazy defensive system that Wilder's employed. Turns out professional football manager knows what he's doing.
He does. They are doing very well, very nicely. Someone was telling me before we came in here that they are the top United in the league. So technically they are the best United in England right now. Sheffield
United, yeah. So if they keep it up for another 30, 40 years, I think it'll come into common lexicon that when people say United, they mean Sheffield United.
Not far off now. Yeah, so the top score this week was 98 points, which I can't believe someone managed to get 98 points out of that pathetic tally of points. But they had Grealish, the captain David Silva, Leicester's Harvey Barnes, who's flying under the radar at the moment, a bit like Hudson-Odoi actually, because he was only 6 million, and he's getting a fair few points on him. I think he got 11 this game week. Vardy, Rashford, Robertson, Targett, Aarons, Pickford, all smashed it for him. But I can't imagine he's doing well every week with that team. But it's depressing to see, but at least not too many others did that well.
I know, like the Game Week 8 Dream Team got 136 points. If you'd kept the same team for this week, you'd have got 16.
Wow.
That's how just cutthroat this business is.
How did you do over the weekend, Rob?
I've achieved bang average, like
Bang
you
average.
guys. Yeah. Well, actually, no, slightly below average, but 33 points for the week, which was poor.
That's good enough to tie with me, though.
Well, if that's the benchmark, then great. I've managed that. My captain did slightly better than you guys. I had Raheem Sterling, who got 5, so doubled up to 10. I feel he should have got more because that assist is worth more than 3 points because it was absolutely filthy. You should get more points for that, definitely.
He didn't get any bonus points then?
No, not that I know
of. How's your team doing in general?
In general, bang average again. 447 overall.
Oh, so that'd be the same as Miles?
Yeah, we're exactly the same. We're doing exactly the same.
There we go. And if you sort of, I think 50 points for a game week is probably about average. That's what you want to be aiming at. So if we're through game week 9, just slightly under that, need to pick it up.
When you want to win this stuff, I'm aiming for like 55 week average.
Can we name the most transferred in player this game week? This new game week that we're coming into.
For the one we're coming into.
Yeah.
Who is everyone signing?
De Bruyne.
Yes.
Is it?
Got it in one, yeah. Even though he's got 3 points in his last 2 games, didn't play the week before. But obviously, I think people are looking. He's still the top scoring midfielder on the FPL game, and City have Aston Villa and Southampton at home coming up. I think people look at those fixtures and think you can get a few there.
I look at those fixtures and think Guardiola's going to drop him.
Yeah, I think unlike Aguero, who didn't start like last week, he didn't score the week before. He clearly isn't a player who is the first name on the team sheet. I think it's pretty hard. We've discussed in previous weeks. Pretty hard to justify dropping De Bruyne when he's fit, isn't it?
Oh yeah, big time.
There's probably part of that in there as well, in that he was injured, so people maybe shipped him out and then ship him back in again. Now he's fit again.
That's true. Yeah, I wouldn't have dropped him just because I've made a pretty dime off him so far with him going up in price.
Yeah, I've done the same. It's keep him in.
Yeah. Who do we think is the most transferred out player in this game week?
I reckon it is. Who do you reckon people will have brought in for De Bruyne? Because I reckon it marries up. Mahrez.
Nope.
I
He's a
don't know
striker.
them.
Who is on fire?
Mars is eyeballing me here, so I'm going to say
I'm putting you on the spot.
Rashford.
No. He scored in the game week.
I know, but people do funny things, don't they, when they're under pressure?
No, it's Pookie. It's Pookie.
Ah,
Of course.
right,
The train as well and truly crashed.
Yeah.
The
Get
team.
rid.
He's got 6 points in his last 4 EPL games after scoring 49 points in his first 5 EPL games. Very different. It's like a game of two halves right there, isn't it? It's not been pretty for him since Norwich have got all those injuries. He's struggling.
Not at all. I don't profess to watch very much Norwich at all. I don't know whether the players that have been injured is just the supply is not quite there, or people have worked him out. I don't know. Maybe there was a reason he was playing in the Championship.
We'll see, I guess, how it pans out over the course of the season. We do have a new league leader on the UK Fantasy Football Show Public League. Musa Lawan has finally dethroned Alex Hammond. So for Rob's sake here, or for any new listeners, we had the same leader for about 7 game weeks. He held firm at the top. However, poor Alex Hammond, he really was suffering from the Pookie hype train. He got on board it quick. He got a lot of luck out of that, but he won't drop him. And so he's finally been dethroned. He's third now. However, he's still way ahead of me and Dave and Sam in terms of points. So.
I was going to say, what's the points tally that we actually have to aim for, as opposed to just trying to beat each other in the room?
I'd probably say, off the top of my head, it's add 30-40% on what your score is at the moment.
The top points from the league so far, 573 points, which is over 100 more than me and you.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly 100 more than Sam.
That's some ground to make up for all of us.
It is. We have something.
I'm quite glad that this Pookie loving is finished, because
Me too.
I can't justify the reason. Right? There's some deep-rooted issue from my childhood, but I just can't stand the term Pookie party. Honestly, it makes me cringe like licking carpet or something. It just it sends shivers down my spine. So the less
Who
people
coined that one though?
Just
the internet.
society.
Yeah.
The less people that mention Pookie party to me, it's just
Vomit in your mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
Listeners, you can join our league and test yourself against us all season long. The code to type in on the FPL website is NHC4WZ. Let's move on then. Each week, in between our game week review and preview, we tackle a topic that's discussed among FPL managers far and wide. This week, as mentioned at the start of the show, is Arsenal, who lost 1-0 against Sheffield United on Monday night. And the season isn't quite panning out the way I imagine some Arsenal fans would have hoped. I think there was a little bit of uncertainty during the summer of what they might do without having spent too much money, but they got a few late signings in. Pepe and I think was Tierney a deadline day signing in the end. I think he came in late.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and he's obviously not featured a lot in the league yet. Well, I guess we can start with the new signings then. I mean, how do we rate the new signings that Arsenal have brought in? There's Pepe, Tierney, David Luiz, Ceballos, and Martinelli.
Pepe, fraud.
Yeah, you are hard
Strong.
on that.
Yeah.
Get off the fence, Sam.
I said this from the very start. It's on record that he was always. I always thought he was going to be a player that would have a 5-game barren spell, come in, score a goal, maybe get an assist, and then go back on another 5-game barren spell. And for the price he was, you're comparing him to Son. It's just not true to even comprehend making that comparison. I was watching, I think it might have been when United were playing Arsenal. Sorry, Manchester United. Now we've got 2 Uniteds in the mix. We're playing Arsenal, and Pepe had a few chances, and I probably bored everyone to death in the office saying this, but he doesn't kick the ball hard enough. You compare that to like the next night, Gnabry came and eviscerated Spurs, and every single one of his shots was like a traction engine was behind it. Pepe just couldn't kick the ball hard enough to get past De Gea. So, I don't know, has he got 2 assists, 1 goal?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
So my assessment at the start of the season was pretty much exactly right. He's just...
After 9 games.
Yeah, he's just not very good.
What do you reckon?
He's 72 million. 72 million!
You've got to give people time to settle, surely.
9 games is enough, Rob.
9 games?
Yeah.
Not even half a season?
It's like 1.5 Freds for him.
He's no McTominay, is he?
Yeah, you can't even... Money can't buy McTominay. You just have to be gifted him.
I'm with Rob here. I think that he needs a bit of time. I don't think he's a fraud.
How long are you going to give him?
I'm going to give him a whole more 6 games. Actually, he has till Christmas. He has until Christmas to prove himself to me. And then he's dead to me. Or I don't think he will be. I think they've got a really good run coming up. They have. Palace, Wolves, Leicester. It's probably the only banana skin in there. Southampton, Norwich, Brighton, West Ham. So 6 out of 7. I mean, it's Arsenal, and that's why we're talking about. I'm probably not going to win those 6 out of 7. But they are games that you would think, okay, he has a chance here to establish himself a bit more. He came in a little bit late into the season and didn't really hit the ground running, but Arsenal's fixture list was difficult at the start of the season. I seem to remember they had a lot of the big teams early on in the first 5 games, including Newcastle United, I might add. But, I mean, you would have liked to have seen more from Pepe by now, but I still think of those signings that have been brought in, he's still the one to me that looks most positive, I would say.
No, I'm not buying this, actually. I'm just looking at the matches he's played in. 90 minutes. Right, Liverpool, fair enough. That's tough. I'll give him that one. Tottenham at home, didn't even score. He got
5 points, right?
He got an assist. Watford away. Villa, thought he'd turn up and score against them. Easy enough. United, didn't do anything. Bournemouth, I got an assist. Sheffield United.
Okay, so there's a pattern. I'm looking at the same list as you. There's a pattern here. And he gets assists and goals at home, and he doesn't get anything away from home. Now, is that not Arsenal in a perfect nutshell right there?
Yeah, good point. Actually.
That is just Arsenal through and through, and it's kind of why we're touching on them. Like, it was the same as last season, and think that, Unai Emery, while he did well to get Arsenal to the Europa League final, one of the big criticisms of them was the fact that they were just terrible in the league away from home, utterly terrible. And it's hard to say that they look too different this year. So what, they beat Newcastle away from home, but we were dire in that first game. They needed to beat us, really. But since then, in the league at least, they lost to Liverpool away, they drew Watford away, they drew Man United away, and they just lost to Sheffield United away. It's not a pretty picture.
There's kind of two sides to Pepe as well, though. There's the fantasy league choice, at which point he is dead to people, because
It's too expensive.
Who's going to go out there and shell out 9.3 million on him when there are so many better options out there? Well, if you're speaking from a kind of actual football point of view, you need to give people that time. You need to let them settle. You need to let them adapt to a different country, a different lifestyle, etc., etc. So I'd go with Sam on the fraud from a fantasy point of view.
Right.
Only on the fantasy point of view.
Right.
But in real life.
In real actual life, yeah.
Give him a bit longer.
They have a really good attacking trio on paper as well. And they haven't really had a chance to properly field that yet, because Lacazette got injured, just as Pepe was sort of starting to hit the ground a little bit with match fitness. Did Aubameyang miss a game or two early on as well? I'm not sure, actually. But essentially, they've not had those three settled in playing week in, week out for a while. And on paper, they are one of the best front three in the league. And I think that with this sort of fixture list, they do have the potential to maybe get Arsenal out of the rut. But the problem is just that it's Arsenal. And, will they actually manage to do that? Some of the other new signs you mentioned there, Satini hasn't really... I don't think he's played a minute in the league so far. He's
got to come in now, though, especially after Monday. That is the perfect rationale for Emery to march into the changing room going, right, there are going to be a few changes now, boys. Is Bellerin back now? Did he play in the League Cup? I have a feeling he played in that League Cup game. The team he played in. So stick those two in. That might give them some form of outlet. There's a clip that's been doing the rounds since Monday of Arsenal trying to play out from the back. I don't know if you've seen it. 14 passes and they end up losing it like 35 yards from their own goal. Everything is sideways. There's no sort of pivot in midfield that come. I just rolled my eyes really hard there, just saying that. But there's no one that's coming into that midfield and let's call it the Busquets role. Coming in and being able to move it around. It's just the flat back four passing it around between themselves and then panicking, trying to play it out because they think, oh crikey, we've played quite a few passes here, let's try and move it forward, and they're just not being the option.
Well, their centre midfielders are all enforcers, aren't they?
Yeah, but if you've got the fullbacks that are moving on a little bit and are a little bit more progressive, that might help. The centre mid bit is obviously a bit of an issue as well. I mean, Torreira obviously has played nowhere near as much as he was doing last season. I don't know if he is that missing person, but he's always come across to me as, again, another enforcer. He's just, I don't know if I'm just saying that because he's small. And all small.
He's not a creative type, though, is he?
No,
I mean,
he's not.
In no terms is he that, or box to box, really. I don't know. There are some issues with that midfield, especially, but I do think, and I mean, the defence is always problematic. But
if only they had a creative genius somewhere in their squad that they could maybe call upon and bring in. I know the transfer window's closed. You can't sign anyone. Perhaps
feels like you're getting onto something here.
Perhaps they could look within and see if they had like one of the best players in the world sat twiddling his thumbs and maybe popping into the team.
Formerly one of the best players.
I was about to say because they don't.
How can you be one of the best players in the world when you're not getting picked?
Well, he gave him plenty of opportunities last season. He turned up once last season in an amazing performance against Leicester. But I'm sorry, imagine if you're in that dressing room and he keeps picking Ozil when Ozil does practically nothing on the pitch. Looks like he doesn't want to be there. He'd rather be at home playing Fortnite. He probably was just glued to the TV for the entire duration of that Fortnite ending. Just much more interested in that than he is in Arsenal season. I think about 18 months ago, I would have come to Ozil's defence and said I think he's been unfortunate. I think he was unlucky with the World Cup stuff last summer. But honestly, the way that last season went, it's clear to me that Wenger, it was his last sort of screw you as he left Arsenal. A little bit like, all right, you're forcing me out here. I'm going to give my mate Ozil a massive pay packet and lumber you with that for the next, 3 or 4 years. And it's just one of those things. It's like with Alexis Sanchez at Manchester United. It's just a situation that is dragging that whole team down because he must be the best paid player left in the Premier League now that Alexis has been shunted over. And that's just preposterous when you think that what he does bring when he comes into the team is pretty much nothing. Because I'm with you, like on paper, certainly 2 years ago, you'd say he's one of the most creative, one of the best players in the league, but he's just completely gone off the boil. He's jumped the shark, I would say.
Do you know what's funny? When I was thinking about their midfielders, I was talking about it just then. He didn't even cross my mind. I don't think my brain registers him as an Arsenal player anymore.
He's an insignificance.
Yeah,
it's just
so why not ship him out in the summer then?
Well, I know
he's on this stupid contract, and he can probably sit there and go, "No, I'm fine. I'll stick around here." But if they're not going to pick him, why is he there? What's the point?
They definitely would have tried to do it, but essentially, what I reckon would have happened is people just said, "Well, we're not paying that much money. You're Ozil. You're on 300 grand a week, and no one's going to be offering you that much money because no one is that stupid." And yet, he's just like, "Oh, okay, I'll just sit here."
Pops Ed Woodward.
Yeah. But he's just sat there, he can play Fortnite all day if he wants, and he's fine, Sit in London coffee shops, try and avoid getting robbed in cars. That's just, his life now, isn't it?
But for a team crying out for creativity, Emery's now got the chance as well to go, do you know what? We'll give him a couple of games, and then if he performs, brilliant. You get the results. If he doesn't, he can then go, well, look, I've tried. He wasn't any good.
I'm not totally against you, but I think that there has to be something going on in training for him to basically just snub him completely.
Well, there's 100% something in the background, isn't there? Ozil comes out and gives an interview and says, I'm ready, I'm fit, I want to play. Emery comes out in his press conference, says, yeah, he's training well. He would have been picked if it hadn't been for robbery. And then he's nowhere near the squad again.
I mean, you look at Ozil sometimes and you see the way he performs in games and you just think, if you're that disinterested in training and you're not performing in matches, what incentive does the manager have to pick you if he wants to keep a harmonious dressing room? I don't really see it. I don't see how you could continue picking him or even restart picking him when he's just lumbering around pointlessly in the pitch. He's a luxury player and, like all luxury players, you need to be good to be valuing that team. And if he's not good, then it's just madness, I guess, on paper. But at the same time, he's had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
But not this season, though. He's played, 70 minutes in the Premier League this
70
season?
minutes, yeah. Yeah, well, I guess, there's a window there if he wants to get his way back in. I guess maybe the Europa League could be his little proving ground. Maybe not. My lack of sympathy has gone out the window with him, to be honest. He's dead to me.
Enough. Go on.
I think there's a few other elements to Arsenal that are sort of partly potentially of their own doing, some that are just unfortunate. I think Lacazette being injured for so long is a huge part. I think I was saying on one of our pre-season podcasts, I fell into the trap last season of picking Lacazette over Aubameyang purely because I think he's a better footballer. But Aubameyang is a better point scorer for fantasy football purposes. So missing Lacazette he's played a couple of matches this season.
Yeah.
Sooner he gets back, the better, because then you've got an extra little bit of goal threat, but also some creativity. I think that will help. Signing David Luiz,
it's kind of just a desperate play to sort of fix.
Yeah, he's not the guy to come and bring some stability to a defence. I'm sure he talks a great game, and I've always got the impression he's a really good locker room guy. But when this guy's like trying to lead by example, it's like I'm a new senior head, I've been brought in to steady the ship here, and then he'll fall over or give the ball away.
Yeah.
Everyone else is going to be going, it's not going to be our season. And then I think there's Emery himself. I saw some stats the other day. If you compare his first 47 games, I believe he's played, versus Wenger's last 47, I think they've pretty much done identically, apart from Wenger had scored more and conceded slightly less. But in terms of results, they're pretty much spot on. So he's not moved the team forward. It's not like he's just come in this summer. He's had enough time to try and shape it into his own now.
This is a crucial period for him, for sure. They need to turn the season around a little bit. I mean, they're not doing terribly. They're not, languishing in the bottom half of the table like Manchester United. But at the same time,
I was going to say, are we not condemning them a bit too soon? They're fifth in the table, 2 points off the top four.
But I think you are.
But the top four is where they want to be, isn't it? Realistically,
that's what. Yeah, they've been hoping for that for a while, haven't they?
They're not going to get first or second. So
you still shouldn't be losing to a newly promoted team. I mean, I'm saying that Manchester City lost to Norwich, didn't they?
Is that not disrespectful to Sheffield United? You look at what they're doing and what they've achieved. Is it not the bottom end not necessarily the bottom end of the Premier League. The Premier League and the Championship are possibly getting a bit closer than how they used to be.
No, I don't think it's disrespectful. It's a massive monetary difference that, yeah, Sheffield United, they deserve praise for what they've done. But at the same time, if you're Arsenal and you've got a wage bill of that size, preposterously massive compared to Sheffield United.
Inflated by a man who isn't playing.
Inflated by a man that isn't playing, yeah. And if you're stupid enough to give him a contract, then, there's a club you've got to bear that burden. I just think that I'm just looking at the points here. 3 points above Sheffield United, 4 places off. I don't think that's necessarily the issue. The issue is just that away from home, they haven't fixed the problems and they're going to struggle to get into that top 4 again. They haven't had Champions League now since 2016-17. They used to consistently get through the group stage, always get knocked out in the last 16. They used to consistently get in, and now it seems to just be settling into life as a Europa League entity.
Well, that was the thing. Under Wenger, it was like, well, we get in the Champions League every year, but that's not enough. We want more. And that was part of the reason why, the Wenger era has to come to an end and they move on to Emery. And like Sam was saying, it hasn't improved in any way, shape or form. And the last 47 versus the first 47, they're more or less the same. So you're kind of flatlining across, what's that going to be? Best part of 4 seasons now.
Yeah. It's not the happiest of times for Arsenal fans. They remember happier years.
No, and I just see it as a huge missed opportunity for them because apart from City and Liverpool, everyone else is just doing pretty average. They've dropped a lot of the sort of the so-called big 6, 7, at least in terms of reputation, are underperforming. Chelsea are doing okay, but if Arsenal or Man United or Tottenham had played to what expectations were of them, then they'd be well ahead of them. So Arsenal have had a wonderful opportunity here to be really, almost a good few points clear in third, but they're not.
No. I'm just looking there, 10 points behind Liverpool after 9 games. It's not really where you want to be. I know Liverpool have been excellent and only dropped 2 points so far. 2 of them against Man United.
Indeed.
I probably should flag that I was completely wrong about Manchester United getting spanked by Liverpool. And you were almost right.
Almost. I think they got a bit tired.
They had a really good game plan, to be fair. And Liverpool were a bit flat, weren't they? They didn't quite hit the ground running.
They did some strange things as well. I mean, what was the whole putting Salah's shirt up in the dressing room beforehand? It's like he's not fit. Why are you pretending he might be playing? Just.
Well, I'll go off a massive tangent. That is one thing that irks me. Is like there's a couple of instances. I think last season, I can't remember who, where teams would go out with warm-up tops on for players that are injured. He's pulled his hamstring, lads. He's out for 5 or 6 weeks, but he's not dead. Bloody hell.
I'm 100% with you on this. It's like, we'll show solidarity for our teammate. And it's like I think he'll be right. He's just going to sit at home for a couple of weeks.
This is for Mo. It's like he's missing a game.
Man City are just as bad at that, aren't they? I seem to remember Man City done this a couple of times.
Yeah,
I'm sure they did it for Laporte, didn't they?
Was it Gundogan?
Yeah, they've done it for Gundogan and they did it for Laporte as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
It's pretty sad. It should be a happy time for you with United not losing. Should
be
chirpy. No,
because you just know that we'll lose it. Well, I don't care what happens in the Europa, but Norwich away. I'm looking at that going, I'm worried there, lads.
That is a winnable game right now with Norwich's injuries.
Is it not 6?
Yeah, that's what Norwich are saying. You see, Liverpool's goal on Sunday. Rojo and Young completely switch off. Boom, easy as that. You grab a goal back. That's all it took. Those finer margins, game of inches. But that's part and parcel of what United have got at the back at the moment. And the Pookie party might start up again.
That'd make you hate him even more, wouldn't it? That'd really light a fire under you.
Yeah. But I think if Martial's back on Sunday for United, which I think he will be, then I can see the good times rolling again.
Excellent.
He says the eternal optimist.
We slightly went off topic there, didn't we?
We did. To be honest,
it was supposed to be about Arsenal, wasn't it?
We did,
and all of a sudden it comes around to Manchester United.
Yeah, I think we've covered Arsenal
done it again.
extensively there, though.
But I'll ask one final question. Arsenal, you named 3 players in their squad that you would pick for a fantasy team?
Yeah, Aubameyang.
Yeah,
that was easy.
That's why I said 3.
No, Aubameyang is the only player I think, certainly in this form of fantasy, football. I play draft fantasy football, and I have Tierney in there because I'm waiting for him to start and hopefully get a few assists. And because they have some... Actually, I guess, you know what? I think Arsenal defenders right now, with this run coming up, you could make a pretty decent case for putting in a Tierney, or if Bellerin comes back in the team, then a Bellerin. But other than Aubameyang, there's not really a dead cert. There's not really any midfielders you want. It's kind of similar to Liverpool in that respect, in that all their most potent attacking players are classed as forwards. I don't believe in the Ceballos hype. Certainly not on a fantasy football perspective.
Yeah, definitely not from a fantasy perspective.
He had that great game against Burnley, and it was like, oh my God, we need to get him in. And it was like the most transferred in player that game week. I remember game week 2, I think it was, into game week 3. But it was always just an anomaly, and he's not an attacking player in that sense. He's a great player to have in your team from time to time, but he's not a fantasy football demon.
I knee-jerked on him and stripped him out accordingly. And just to bring it back to Pepe, I'm looking at midfielder points across all midfielders. Pepe, 29 points, 9.3 million. You could save yourself 4.3 million, get an extra 3 points by picking my mate Scott McTominay.
Is it in your contract that you have to mention Scott?
Well, he says this. He doesn't even pick him in his team.
He's not even in his team.
I've named my team after him, but I don't pick him.
Right, okay.
The absurd thing is, so Dave has him in his team. I almost put him in this game week. I stopped myself because I was like, what am I doing? I can't do this to myself. But I nearly put him in my team just because he's like 5 million and he's just so cheap, and you just get your 2 points every week.
Yeah, cheap, cheerful, and score some points.
Yeah. Before we run through mine and Sam's changes to our game week teams, which I think will be pretty low anyway, Rob will be revealing his 1 week wonder team. So for new listeners, he has to pick a team to get as many points as possible from this one game week. The high score remains 64 points, but Paul Raymond, last week's guest, bagged a new low of 32 points and became the first guest to score below the week average. Even though the average was pitiful, he still managed it. Well done, Paul, if you're listening. Rob, I think it's safe to say you should be able to top that.
I was going to say that the bar is set low, isn't it? So if I don't, it's going to be very, very, very disappointing.
It is, I won't lie. Who have you picked for this challenge?
Do you want it in any particular order?
Ideally, don't start with the forwards, which is what Paul did last week, and it completely threw us. Start with the goalkeepers.
Start from the back.
A logical,
like a normal person.
11.
So you start 11, then you subs.
Okay, cool. Let's go. So Alisson in goal, because he is a very good goalkeeper.
He's back.
He is back. Then a back.
You picked it now, but Spurs away. Spurs at home.
Spurs at home. Spurs
scored 5
against a pub team.
Okay,
I'm happy with it. You're going to get upset about the next one as well, then, aren't you? Because it's Joel Matip starting my back 3.
He's best valued at Liverpool defender.
Well, he makes sense, doesn't he? You can go with the.
I'm not always nasty to you, Rob. When I see you've made a valid contribution, I will reward accordingly with praise.
You can go with the hype of the fullbacks and waste some money, but just go with Joel.
You don't rate Spurs' attack then? At the moment,
you're trying to lead me down a certain path.
Well, I'm just trying to get you to explain your decisions here.
I think there is a good chance, given Tottenham's recent Premier League form and their record against Liverpool in the Premier League, that Liverpool will keep a clean sheet here.
Do you think Spurs are worthy of being classed as a top 4 team?
I feel I'm being led somewhere here. I expect Spurs will finish in the top 4 at the end of this season. Yes.
Okay.
We're not. I don't think
answer my question, but carry on.
Spurs. We mentioned how bad Arsenal are away from home, but Spurs are absolutely terrible away from home as well. And there's a good reason for picking those players, Rob. Don't let us get you down.
No, I'm fine. I'm happy with these selections. You'll get upset about the next one though, because it's Willy Bolly, Wolves defender, away at Newcastle.
I'm not upset. I think it's a very good pick.
Yeah,
should pack those Wolves players in there.
Given Newcastle have scored, is it a massive 2 goals in 4 home games?
I've lost count. There's just so many.
You got to 2 and lost count.
That's a lot for us.
Okay, and then to complete the back 3, Benjamin Mendy. A little bit of a risk because you never know what Pep's going to do with his team.
You do
never know. He's back in now. And he also...
I think Zinchenko's got a knock as well, hasn't he?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, you do never know with Pep's back 4. I think he picked, was it Rodrigo and Fernandinho last night, starting the centre defence for them. So
yeah, but then Rodrigo got injured as well, I think.
Yeah, he's apparently out for about 10 days.
So definitely out for the weekend. But anyway, so Alisson in goal, back 3, Matip, Bolly and Mendy. Then a midfield 4, of dreams, but not likely to put too many tackles in. Sadio Mane, David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and Anthony Martial.
You can't really argue with that, to be honest.
Good.
You spent a lot of money on that midfield, but
yes, I have spent a lot of money on that midfield. Yeah. That will become apparent as we hit the forward line. But yeah, I like that midfield a lot. Again, there's a couple of risks there with the Man City players, because what's Pep going to do? Who's he going to leave out? He can't pick them all. But, there's some nice players in there.
Who are your attackers?
Up front, we have Jamie Vardy kicking things off on a Friday night down at Southampton. Banging form, 15 in 19 under Rodgers. Tammy Abraham away at Burnley. Chelsea have won 4 of their last 5 at Burnley, scoring at least 2 in each of those games.
That means absolutely nothing to how the match on Saturday will go.
You really kicked that stat while it was down there.
I like that stat. I was quite happy with that stat.
Seemed really proud. Looks really happy with himself.
Leave my stat alone. You're going to enjoy the next stat as well then, as we go.
Stop thinking you know me and Miles so well. telling us what we are and I'm not going to enjoy. You're not the boss of me. Leave me alone, Mum.
So to complete the 11, we have Bournemouth's Josh King as they go to Watford. Where's my stat on him? Here it is. He's scored 5 in the last 6 Premier League games against Watford, and 4 of those came at Vicarage Road. But as you've already said, that has no bearing on the game this weekend.
Doesn't, you're right. He didn't play last weekend, did he?
He came off the bench, but I think he'll put him in for this one. However, I've got a decent bench as well in case there's any problems with my starting 11, so I'm happy with that too.
What's your bench?
You see, I say I've got a decent bench, but Stecklenburg's never going to play, so we'll forget about him. We've then got Lundstram, because he's the highest scoring defender in the game.
A little hottie, isn't he?
Yeah, so he can slot in. Campbell at Norwich, who is also suffering from the post-Pookie party.
Cheap and cheerful, though.
Yeah, but cheap and cheerful, gets the points. And then Simpson, because he is so cheap, just to take it up to the round 100 million mark. And I have so much faith in this team. I'm going to play my free hit on it this week.
Really?
Yes, that's going to be my team for this week.
Right, okay, so you're going to do it in your actual team?
Yeah, I think I am.
I quite like that tactic. We should get people to do it.
You've said it now.
You committed.
Can I walk it back slightly?
I set the constitutional precedent last week that if you say something, you must do it.
Yes.
No, you see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk out of here and go, yeah, that was stupid, and then I'll not do it.
I think it's a good team, Robbie. You stick by that
Who's
team.
Your
I don't rate that
Who's
bench,
your
but
captain going to be?
Kevin De Bruyne, because he is amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually the one thing I've not decided yet. So we'll segue nicely then onto our teams for our week. And I think neither of us have made any changes, have we?
Not yet.
Are you thinking about it?
I've got 2.4 million in the bank. So there's just a few bits that I'm keen to upgrade, I think. Kelly is obviously not playing really anymore, so that's almost a wasted position. And, the subs are becoming a little bit more used now than they were at the start of the season as rotation gets baked into managers' plans. So I could do with getting him out and making him a bit better. I'm happy with Maguire, Soyuncu, Matip, and delighted with Lundstram.
Are you going to let him start this time?
Yeah, I think so.
Give him a rev
now.
He's so delighted with him. He's on the bench.
Slapped 8-0 or something. Mane, Sterling, De Bruyne, and my 3 definites. I've got Cantwell and Mount, but I think one of them could be due a change. I'm unsure about Mount at the moment. He's been superb so far, but if Hudson-Odoi comes in, then Mount will end up playing further back. I'm sure he'll be given sort of the licence as sort of one of the 3 centre midfielders to push on a bit. But I think that will hinder the amount of assists and goals he will get. My forward line's Wilson, Abraham, and Ayew. And
who's going to be captain?
I don't know.
Not Wilson again.
Nah. But I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with Abraham. He's staying. Wilson and Ayew. Ayew's only 5, so I'm unsure about Wilson. I might change him up.
Okay.
So I've got some soul searching to do this weekend. My captain more than likely will be De Bruyne, unless I throw caution to the wind, get Rashford back in and captain him.
I think you should have some courage to go with those convictions.
Well, I tried that.
I think he should, because I don't think he's going to get anything against Norwich. So I think it'll be enjoyable for me, at least. Less enjoyable for you. But I was wrong last week. So.
I'm happy with my my squad overall, but I'm not delighted by it. There's just a few bits I know could be a bit better, and I've got a few quid to try and make some changes.
Okay. I'm not going to make any transfers because I don't have any money, and any improvements I want to make, I'd have to sacrifice a bigger player, an expensive premium player. But to do that and to then bring in a cheaper one, you obviously need 2 transfers. Don't want to take that -4 hit. So I'm going to wait till next week and
Can't
save
afford
it
to, can you, mate?
I can't afford to, no. It's a dig, but at the same time, it's a very true dig. I can't argue against that.
Or you could do wholesale surgery and go with the wild card.
I've already done it.
Are you wildcarded already?
Wildcarded, all of us have.
Oh my
word! Not
word!
wildcarded.
Everyone's wildcarded by now.
No,
Jesus.
no,
Even Paul wildcarded last week.
Is that
Didn't
like
go well
the seal of approval? Is it if Raymond's done it?
Sam wildcarded after like 2 weeks. He was very quick into his
wildcard. That was a well played wildcard.
Thank you. Do you know where I was before I played my wildcard?
Were you in a world of pain?
I was. It wasn't that bad. I was bottom.
Now he's
played
top.
my wildcard.
and now look at where you are.
Drake. I listened to Drake. Start from the bottom. Now I'm here.
You're like one of those fat people on the adverts for diets. Like, I used to be so sad and fat, and now I'm thin and happy.
I don't think can you say fat people?
Well, I mean, really more
less slim people.
But yeah, I can't really do anything with my team at the moment. I do kind of I think it's just that instinct when you've got a really expensive player who isn't scoring. I kind of want to just get rid of Aguero. But at the same time, you just look at Villa and
you know the moment you do that, he's banging in 4
Yeah.
goals.
So I'm holding off. Did he score 2 yesterday as well against?
Yeah.
So he's got his goal scoring boots on again. I'm sure this weekend.
That's the thing. So Sterling 5 in his first 3 matches. He had quite a bit of a lean spell, scoring 1 in 6.
Well, that was the best thing I've done this season, dropping him and getting in Abraham and Aguero. It didn't turn my season around, but at least it stopped me from being completely terrible. And catching up with Dave at least, if not you. I'll run through my team very quickly for the viewers. So it's Pope in goal, Tomori, Alexander-Arnold, Otamendi in defence, Maddison, Mane, Guendouzi, De Bruyne in midfield, Haller, Abraham and Aguero in attack.
Still sticking with Haller?
I am still sticking with Haller. That's kind of one of the changes that I was thinking about making. But the thing is, I do think that, West Ham's fixtures here. So the reason I decided to stick with him, because I was and ahhing a bit about it, was they have 2 home games coming up against Sheffield United and against Newcastle. Fucking Newcastle. So I do think that there's some points to be gained there. I know we've been talking about Sheffield United, how they tend to be, they're doing quite well for themselves, but at the same time, they're beatable away from home. I think Haller could get a few. He's one of those players as well, from the impression I get, is when he scores, he's a bit like Aubameyang, he'll score a couple of games when he does score. So
which he's done once.
But that's all I need. Just one example to prove my point. So I'm sticking with him just because.
So look, he's played 9 games. I didn't play against Brighton, and he scored in 3 matches. So basically, 1 in 3 games, he will get you a half decent return
for a mid-range striker, a proper mid-range cost of a striker. I'm happy with my picking of him. I'm not happy with his return. Since I picked him, he's done nothing really, but I'm sticking with him stubbornly. I'm not binning him. He's staying for now, and we'll see how it goes next week. If he isn't getting points against Sheffield United and Newcastle, he's done. He's finished.
Dead to you.
Yeah. No Dave to ask how his team is going to be changing this week, but
are you not going to assess it in his absence or anything like that?
It won't show up.
Yeah, you can't see when he always makes late changes, so he won't have made any changes yet anyway, to be honest.
What Dave generally does is he comes in with a team and an idea.
And then are you mean to him? And does he change his mind?
No, we're not mean to him. We critically
I've listened to this show. I've listened to this show. You're mean to him.
We constructively criticise his thought process and logic. And then come 12:30 or 11:30 on a Saturday, we can go, well, you've listened to us.
and is your advice helping or hindering, do you think?
Well, he's not top, is he? So.
And he's not bottom.
See, you could just be gaslighting him, basically, couldn't you?
It could.
And because he's not here, there's no right reply. So.
Let's wrap this up then. Sam, Rob, thanks very much for joining us today. Listeners, you can get in touch with us by tweeting your fantasy football thoughts with the hashtag UKFFS. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, follow on Spotify, or however you listen to podcasts on your favourite platform. Leave a review if you liked it, and if you didn't, what are you still doing here? Check out Goal for your daily dose of football news from the Premier League and around the world. Thanks for listening.